Hi guys, it's Don with Pa's Garden Journal. In this week's journal entry, we will be taking a look at my composting. Now, I'm just an old country boy and I very seldom get scientific about things, and this is no exception to that at all. I'm as basic as it gets, and I do 4 things are all I do in getting my compost made. Step 1 is gathering up leaves, and that's the big one. Step 2 is cleaning out my hen house and getting all those wood chips out of there. Step 3 is taking all my kitchen scraps I collect all the time and dump those out as needed. And step 4 is mixing it all together later on as I begin turning these, and you'll see some of that later. So yeah, some of these are big steps and some happen on a continuing routine, but all are part of the process and should be done. And let's take a look at each one of these steps to understand a little bit more about my approach and how I do that. Like I said, step 1 is gathering up the leaves. Now, fall is my favorite time of the year, and the trees around here are absolutely beautiful, and the weather is almost perfect most days. But there's one thing that really bothers me about the fall season. When I'm riding around leaf watching and just looking at things in general, I really don't like to see folks blowing their leaves out of the yards and into the streets. Or they're bagging them up and putting them in huge bags, waiting for the trash collectors to come by and get them. Or they're piling them up in their yards and burning them. My goodness, I learned years ago these leaves make excellent compost that can be added to anybody's garden, and it makes such a difference. Like I said, gathering leaves is probably the hardest step in all of this, but they are very basic, and they happen during the fall. You got to get the leaves when they're there. So some folks just pile them up in the corners of the yard, cover them over with a tarp, and just let them sit all year. That keeps the grass from growing in there as the compost begins to break down. But for me, I have a bad case of OCD, as you can see in my garden. But it's also, I get a kick out of keeping things nice and neat. As you can see from my bins behind me, I built 3 side-by-side bins made from hog wire and lumber, and each is 4 foot cube. It's 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, and 4 feet deep. And I fill those things up every year with leaves during the fall. Here's how I do that. Well, after an afternoon of gathering leaves and dumping them in my compost bin, this is my middle bin that's now full. That's the one you see me dumping them in today. And as I look on this side right here, this one is empty and it's getting ready to be loaded up. I still have lots of leaves to gather up. It won't be too long, couple afternoons, and it'll look like this one. And both of those at some point in time will be combined as they settle down. Cleaning out my hen house is step 2. This step for me happens twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And that is getting this thing cleaned out, getting all the wood chips moved out of it. When I built my hen house and my compost bins, I made sure I had a clean out door right across from my bins. Here's the hen house, and here are my bins. And you can see that's it. So let's just let me stand between the two of them and get a good shovel full of chips and the dried poop, and I'll turn it and toss it right over into my bin. It works great too. I'll keep working on that, but you get the idea. Once it's cleaned out, I get new chips from my box store in a compressed bag, and I empty that out in the hen house. It gives them a nice thick layer in there to help insulate them during the winter time as well. So that's it on getting the hen house cleaned out. Step number 3 is throw it in the kitchen scraps. This step is an ongoing step and should never end. I keep a 5-gallon bucket in the corner of my kitchen, and with a lid on it, of course. And I put all my vegetable scraps in here as we go along. Along with those, I also throw in the coffee grounds and the coffee filter and eggshells like crazy. And I make sure there's no meat scraps in here whatsoever. They will begin to smell and they'll attract animals to your compost pile, and you don't want that to happen. So this is the way I do it, and I don't have a video. We got the scraps, and we'll be dumping those in, and we'll go from there on this. So step 3 is real simple. Just keep it in there, keep it going, and a couple times a week, bring it out, dump it in your compost pile, and you can turn it over in there to keep it covered up. Keep from getting bugs and insects in it, flies and stuff like that. So that'll be good. Keep doing that. Step number 4 is mixing it all together. This time, but I don't have any videos this time of the year because I just filled the bins up. So it's not time to turn them over, but I did find some old still pictures I could share with you. But just like step 3, this step is also ongoing and should never end. When I can stay on top of things at the first of each month, every month, I shovel all the contents from bin 1 and toss it lightly over into the next bin next to it. This helps mix everything together, adds oxygen to the mix, and breaks down the leaves even further. Then the next month, I shovel the contents back over into the first bin, and I keep doing this each month and rotate them just between the two bins. Now, bin number 3 may have some left over from last year, and that's ready to go on the garden. So I'll leave that in there and don't mix it in with this. Each time the compost ready, I do get it all moved over into bin number 3 along about planting time in the spring, and that gets those two bins empty so I can gather leaves next year. This last bin over here is ready. It's ready to be put on the garden. You can see the compost that's made. It's not fully dirt, but it's good black leaves that are rotted and molded and just having a good old time in here in the pile. So this is finished. I will be able to put that on the garden this spring. These are the leaves that I had from last year, in 2023 fall of the year. So we're ready to roll, and I think it's going to be quite an addition to the garden when I get this. All this will go on here this year, and this one, and then one next to it will be used for next year. So that's it. My 4 basic steps. Simple stuff, basic stuff, but it works. Mother Nature covers the grounds in the forest every year with leaves, and you never see an 8-foot pile high of leaves out there. She breaks it all down without any help from us. And so let's keep it basic, keep it simple, and get out there and do some garden preparations during this fall break that we have. I want to thank you once again for watching and following along with me during this off season. Certainly got any comments or questions, throw them in the bottom here. And I'd appreciate it if you like this sort of thing, just to keep me, gives me a thumbs up, and subscribe and come along with me. And thanks again, and I'll see you next week.